Hey guys, Down Phoenix here, and here we are playing some Final Fantasy Record Keeper. This is the first episode of Mobile Mondays. Basically, I'm going to have a new mobile game every Monday, or an old mobile game, or whatever, just showing off some mobile games. There will be some good ones, some bad ones, and so on, And I thought this would be a fun little thing, just to kind of show you guys like some of the different mobile games out there, see which ones are maybe worth checking out and which ones are not. I know a lot of them are free, so you can probably just download. But I mean, we're so busy, it's like, why even bother downloading something you don't think you'd be interested in, even if it's free? So I'd like to highlight some of those games that you should check out and some of the ones you should stay away from. This is definitely not one to stay away from. This Final Fantasy Record Keeper. I've actually been playing this game for a good 2 months now. It came out about 2 months ago, and I've really enjoyed it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Obviously, I had a video recently that showed a relic draw. So basically, the core concept of this game is, you have all these different Final Fantasy characters that you get to play as. And actually, I'm going to show you something here right now. This is my character, Down Phoenix. It was a max of like 8 characters, so obviously I couldn't spell out the full name, so I had to kind of like go with something, I guess, close. Right, but anyways, I am what's called a record keeper in the world of Final Fantasy, which is kind of really weird because if you actually keep up with the entire mythology of Final Fantasy, it's all like, most of them are like actually in different worlds entirely. But anyways, all these Final Fantasy worlds, they get screwed up, and you've got to go in and, get things fixed by going into these dungeons. Like here's one for Final Fantasy 1, for instance. It's got to download this stuff. But so basically it goes to different scenarios for all these games, and you got to complete the scenario and so on. It's pretty interesting little concept, and it's got like classic style Final Fantasy combat, but with some active turn based, kind of like Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7 type stuff. So it's goes by at a pretty good pace. So first off, I think I'd like to show you guys my party. This is the party I've got equipped right now. These are more or less my best characters at this time, give or take. So obviously we have a lot of classic Final Fantasy characters: Cloud, Tifa, Cecil, Aerith. And it's kind of interesting, they actually use the correct names. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys remember Ultros from Final Fantasy 6. They actually use his correct name, which I forget what exactly it was, like Ortholos or something crazy like that. It's like, whoa, I didn't even know that. But yeah, it's just all kinds of interesting little things with Final Fantasy characters. So, I'm just going to show you guys kind of some of the stuff here. So, now these are all my core characters. So there's like the Final Fantasy 1 through 13, which they don't have everything implemented yet. They're going to be adding new characters in as they go along with this game. It's going to be an ongoing project. It's not like the game's ready out of the gate with all the Final Fantasy content. They want people coming back, so they're going to be adding content as they go along. And if you've only first played it at the very beginning, you might notice some new characters like Renoa and Lena and Celis and, all kinds of other characters that were not in the original release that they added later on. But anyways, the little symbols next to their name shows you what game they come from. And that's very important to realize because you kind of need to know what game that they've came from for various things called synergy, which I'll get into that a little bit. But as you see, I've got a pretty good roster of characters already. I've actually just recently got Lena, so she's only level 11. But there is a special event right now that they're doing for that. Sorry if the camera shaked a little bit there. But anyways, yeah, so you can go to any of these characters and you can swap them out here if you want to, do different characters and whatnot. And you can use growth eggs if you get characters that are really low level like Lena. You can use these to kind of boost them up. So I can go ahead and use this to gain some real quick experience, and it's actually a little bit buggy for some reason. Hopefully they fix that, because you kind of have to like tap or click, depending on how you're playing. I'm playing on a computer right now, obviously, but if I'm playing on my phone, I have to tap instead. But you have to kind of do that a few times for it to actually start recognizing the input. But anyways, we'll go ahead and level her up so that she'll be a little more competitive. Yeah. So that's classic. This game does have music too. I currently have the music turned off. I'll probably turn it on here in just a bit so that you guys can, see what that's about. Or I don't know. It might drown my voice out, so I'd rather not do that, honestly. But anyways, there's also relic draws. So as you've seen, of course, in the video, I was able to do a relic draw by spending a whole bunch of mithril, which basically the game does use two different kinds of currency. There's the mithril, that's like the free currency that you can earn, well, actually three different types of currency, I guess we're technical. There's gold, which is not used for anything like this at all. It's used for like weapon upgrades and abilities and things of that nature. It's all it's used for. Then there's mithril and gems, which mithril is the stuff that you get for free for various things like completing events or logging in, or just various things like that. And then there's gems, which is the one that you actually pay for. Which actually I do want to kind of show the gems portion real quick. Obviously, it said I needed 100 to do a rare relic draw, or 300 or something like that. And you can see that it's not exactly very cheap. Obviously, being a free-to-play game, they're gonna try to find some whales out there. Fortunately, I'm not such a person, because if I was, I wouldn't have any money, and that would suck. So instead, I have mithril, which I have 39 of right now. If I want to do a rare relic draw, I can spend 5 mithril to do that, or you can get get 11 for the price of 10. Obviously that's what I did the video of earlier. These give you items that are 3-star or higher. So those are obviously the best items. But you can get a freebie draw, which is just kind of like any random item. Usually a 1-star is the most common. Sometimes you'll get a 2 or 3-star. I'm sure it's possible maybe to get a bit better star than that. But obviously I can't do that right now because I'm full on my inventory, which actually starts at 100. I spent some mithril to upgrade the inventory here. Let's go ahead and do that now so that I can actually do my draw, right? And so we'll go ahead and do that now. Now it's been upgraded. We'll go ahead and do the free draw for the day. You get 1 per day for that. But you can also get items throughout the game. Okay. Alright, looks like it's a 1-star. Yep. It's a leather jerkin or something like that. But anyways, or leather clothing, whatever. I've already got like a whole crap load of those. So, alright, so that's going to cover that. I'm going to show you kind of some of the menus here. I actually have a daily login bonus that I can't pick up right now because, again, I'm at the max of my inventory. So we'll maybe check that out a little bit later. This will show you announcements of like different events and things like that they have going on. So that's always useful to look at. Help, of course. Fortunately, for newcomers, they actually make it really easy to get into the game. It gives you a lot of tips and everything like that. And there's also links to the wiki page and all kinds of stuff like that. Character profiles lets you look at all the different characters that are currently available in the game that you can unlock and whatnot. So let's see here. And then there's configuration. This is where you can enable your music and sound and things like that. One thing that's really nice here is, I'm playing this on PC right now, but there's also, the mobile phone ports. And on my mobile phone, I do have music turned on, but it saves my settings separately on the PC version, which I use through BlueStacks. So But I can go ahead and turn that on right now. And you can hear a little music there. But like I said, I'm going to do this without the music because I, wanted to, make sure you guys can hear me good and everything like that. So, okay, and preventing data loss. This is where you can actually go if you want to play it on different devices. This is where you would do it. From my experiences, all you have to do is click the upload and you select options from like Facebook or Google or whatever. Or you can use like a one-time code, like a password. You can just type a password in the other device to import it that way. But it has the import option, which is what you're supposed to do, apparently, to import it to another device, but I've never had to actually do that. I guess maybe there could be some circumstances where you might need to do that, but I've never had to do that. But it's there if you need it, of course. Copyright information, of course. Tells us all the legal jargons and whatnot that nobody really needs to know, at least that it's playing the game. Then the privacy policy, of course. Okay, I am back, and actually I did recently watch the video from the last recording. I'm going to go ahead and turn the music on. It's not too bad at all. You guys should hear me just fine. I've heard myself just fine in the recording, at least. So, that kind of rounds that up. We'll go ahead and go back to the party screen now. And gotta love that classic music, right? I mean, that's some good Final Fantasy tune right there. Maybe you guys should tell me what game that's from. I dare you. But anyways, we'll go ahead and check out some of the inventory stuff here. This is where you can go to equip your characters with the different equipment and things like that they can have. Now you notice most of these characters are actually not equipped with anything. That's because you really only need equipment on your main characters. Obviously, when you get later on, you guess you can probably have preset equipment, but for the most part, at least right now, I don't have a whole lot of great equipment, so pretty much I have to make sure everybody gets access to the good stuff, so that's in the game right now. So it does make things a little bit tedious, like if I wanted to sub out, let's say I wanted to sub out Cecil for Kane, I would have to go in and unequip Cecil and, go ahead and go to Kane and equip whatever I'm going to use for him and so on. But every character, of course, fits a certain class type. Soldier, of course, or Cloud, it's basically just a fighting class, same with Cecil. They're more or less the same exact class. They can use the same equipment and everything like that. And then you have some characters that are a little bit different, like Tifa. She obviously is going to be using hand-to-hand weapons primarily, so her equipment's slightly different. My character is the record keeper, of course. He can use a large variety of equipment and abilities and so on. And of course, Aerith, Flower Girl, which isn't really a class, but it is very important still to have Flower Girls. I'm actually married to one, so I would know, right? And then, of course, you have all your other characters, the Black Mage, Rydia, Terra, Renoa, Tidus, Waka, because it's Pac-Man 35th anniversary going on right now. But and then, of course, you have all the, classic Final Fantasy characters. Like I said, these are core. So they don't actually fit a specific series, which I always thought was kind of dumb because this obviously is Final Fantasy 1. For some of these characters like Fighter, Black Mage, White Mage, so on. So go ahead and go back there. This is where you can go to upgrade the equipment. So this allows you to rank things up to make it better. Obviously, if you hold on an item, it'll give you the statistics of it. And then, of course, like, let's say I wanted to upgrade the knife. I don't know why I ever would, but let's go ahead and do that. I guess we'll just use our broadsword up. Click confirm, and it'll tell me, how much item experience is going to get, how much cost, attack power, all that stuff. It's going to give you that stuff. And then you'll get this nice little animation with the item getting all cranked out and everything like that. And once your items get to a certain level, then you can go to combine equipment. And that's allows you to basically rank it up to the next rarity level, which allows you to continue upgrading the item. Now, you can only do that twice, though. So you have to keep that in mind. You know, some items do have a maximum level of where they can go. And then here's abilities, which more or less the same exact concept, you know, except these are the special abilities that you'll use in combat. So, and this is where you go, obviously, to create new abilities. Abilities and items work a little bit differently, because the items, obviously, you use the various items that you gain to upgrade those, whereas these you use magic orbs instead to upgrade these. And but otherwise they work more or less the exact same. And then hone abilities allows you to upgrade the number of uses that you can get for an item. So you know, each item has like a base level of how many uses you can use, and this is where you can go to upgrade the amount of uses you get out of the items. It doesn't make it more powerful, it just lets you upgrade them. And then you get inventory, which is kind of redundant, sort of. But I guess if you just don't want to go into the equipment screen, this lets you look at this, you know, or the ability screen. They'll give you like an inventory of everything you need. With equipment, obviously, I have a crap load of equipment. I probably should get rid of some of it, but this is going to fill up a lot quicker than the abilities, because the abilities you don't really need to upgrade quite as often. So I've never had to use more than 29 so far. And then orbs. These are what you need to upgrade the abilities, so this lets you look at the inventory of orbs, so that, you know, whenever you want to build or hone abilities, you can see what kind of requirements you've got here. And then miscellaneous, as of right now, it's just the growth eggs, but I'm sure they might have plans to do something else with that. So, now you can, of course, simply do optimize to upgrade your parties to your best characters. But there's often a reason you don't want to do that, because of the synergy. So let's go ahead and go to... So this lets you choose like the different dungeons from each of the Final Fantasy worlds. Right now they've got Final Fantasy 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I kind of skimmed over 6 on accident there. It kind of froze up for a second. Sorry about that. And 10. So, I mean, that's all they've got so far, at least that I have unlocked. I think they do have 8 now as well, but I have to play more dungeons to get that. So, right now, Saturday is Guild Day. Every day's got, like, certain things that you can kind of go in here. And this is actually best for core classes. So, if I want to kind of maximize my potential, I would go back into the party screen and equip the core classes and so on to do that. They also have special events right now. It's the Final Fantasy V special event. So, you know, basically you have different... trying to think of a term here. Different difficulty settings for all of these different, you know, dungeons here. And it'll tell you the event rules, which it basically just gives you kind of an idea of what you're supposed to do. It's not really rules. I don't know why they call it rules, because it's not really rules, but yeah. So yeah, this kind of just gives you an overview of what's going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and click enter this event. I've already done some of it though, so. But now we've got delivered to Dr. Mog. So whenever you play the stuff in this particular event, you get Magicite shards, which... I don't know why Magicite for Final Fantasy V. That's more of a Final Fantasy VII thing, but whatever. Anyways, you get those shards, and you can purchase things. I've already purchased Lena, of course. I get the Mithril. I could purchase some other stuff if I want to, but right now I'm going to kind of build it up a bit so I can get more stuff. Actually, you know what? I do want to purchase one thing particular here. I'm going to go ahead and purchase a Hyper Wrist, which will allow me to upgrade my attack power for any particular character I want. So, there we go. So we've got that. So we're going to go ahead and actually play the game now. I've kind of BS for long enough, I would say, right? So we're going to go ahead and get some party members in here. I want to get a good party going. I'm more or less going to stick with this party, I think. The only thing I'm going to change here is I'm going to go ahead and equip Lena. Take her place, because Whenever you have characters that are in a specific universe, they basically gain 10 levels. So she'll basically be level 23 instead of 13 whenever I'm playing a Final Fantasy V dungeon. Let's see, I don't know if I want to sub out anybody else. I think this should be fine. Lena's pretty much the same as the White Mage. I mean, heck, it looks like pretty much a palette swap of the White Mage. Oh, and she's got some fancy little shoes, too. But yeah, we'll stick with this, so I don't have to mess around with too much here. So all I'm going to need to do, basically, is I'm going to unequip everything from the eras here. We'll go ahead and unequip all of that. You can see how it affects the stats whenever I did that. And, oh, well, I might as well go ahead and while I'm in that screen, of course, right? There we go. And now we'll go ahead and take care of the abilities. Get that sorted out. Obviously, once you get stuff built up, you don't have to go in and out, and so this will save you some time. But right now, I need to get more stuff lined up before I worry about that too much. So there we go. And actually, you know what? There is one particular thing that kind of bothers me. I need to create a specific thing here. I need to find what it is. Is it this one? No, it's regen. You'll see in a second what I'm talking about here. Cure. If you hold, it'll tell you exactly what it is. Poisona. Blindna. Yes, I want to create this item here. So now you'll get to see the item creation process. I wanted to come back here and do this because blind really is painful in this game. I'm going to go ahead and assign that to my Down Phoenix character because he can use magic, but none of these other characters can. Sleep attack's pretty much useless, so might as well equip Blindna once I find it. Because that will allow me to dispel any blind stuff that I get going on here. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and participate in the event. Okay, so here we go. So now we're going to go ahead and do a normal, just to see how that goes for us. Alright, so this allows you to see the equipment and the characters right before you have this here. Any of the blue glow means it's equipment from that specific universe, so it's very useful to have. It is upgraded, basically. And same with Lena, you can see she's got that blue glow around her, so that shows that she gains levels, and you can see how it affects her HP also. And then, of course, you want making changes, you can select party, but we're ready. We are ready to do this, so we're going to go ahead and get into combat. So, this is the meat and potatoes of the game right here. This is the reason you play this game, is the good old Final Fantasy combat. So, it's very simple. If you've played Final Fantasy before, it's very easy to pick up on. You just pick your commands. Obviously, pick an attack right now, because I'm not really in any danger here. So we'll just go ahead and do that. You can see, everybody's got their own abilities and whatnot. So now we'll go ahead and mix things up a little bit. I'm not going to use my guy's main abilities right now, but we'll go ahead and use Cecil. Let him use an ability so that he can do some major damage here. Now you see the ATB bars are affected by a lot of different things, so got to keep that in mind. Okay. Now I want to deal with this character right away because they are pretty pain in the butt. Because of that, because that's the ability that I equipped the Blindna for, is that flash ability. But yeah, you can obviously just do auto, and it'll kind of play for itself. When you do auto, it only does attacks. It won't do any other abilities, so you have to cancel it if you want to do something else. So, obviously, as you go through rounds, you get items and equipment and experience and all that good stuff. Typical RPG stuff. Combat rounds are really quick. Usually, most of them will take a minute, if that even. Unless you're in a boss encounter. The boss encounters can take a few minutes sometimes. But nothing that isn't too terrible for phones. You can pause and everything like that if you need to. So good times there. Okay, so let's go ahead and defend here. So she's not very good at attacking, so we'll go ahead and let everybody else fight it out. One thing I'm a little disappointed on is there's no way to actually view the HP by numbers for the character. At least I don't think there is. It just has the bar. But yeah. Right now we're not really anything important at all, you know, I mean, I'm just more or less just trying to make it through for the boss encounter. Because this one's kind of easy, but of course later on you'll get into some pretty tough encounters and you actually need to strategize at those times. You know, I'm not a big fan of Final Fantasy V, but this is actually one of my favorite Final Fantasy battle themes. Like, it's really catchy. It's got that nice jazzy feel to it, you know, it's great. I mean, the melody, I like that hook that it's got. Final Fantasy V is a game that I probably don't respect enough as far as a Final Fantasy game. But, I don't know, it was the follow-up to Final Fantasy IV, and it was followed by Final Fantasy VI, and those are two of the best RPGs ever made. And it just doesn't quite compare to those two, so I've always saw it as a black sheep in the series. Just like with Final Fantasy II, that was kind of a black sheep, I guess. Final Fantasy VIII and IX are sort of there. I mean, they're pretty popular games, but they often get bad reputations for whatever reasons. And then, of course, there's some other games that do as well. The original Final Fantasy is considered very dated. Final Fantasy X often gets a lot of crap it probably shouldn't, but some of it should, obviously. You know, of course, Final Fantasy XII and Final Fantasy XIII are very polarizing games. Even though they were critically well acclaimed, there's just a lot of trouble in the community, you know, like there's a rift in the Final Fantasy community as far as those games are concerned. So, the series has had a lot of ups and downs, but this game does a good job of keeping the basics in line. You know, just kind of, you know, letting you play your characters, you know, kind of picking out the characters that you want to play. And I just realized I should have equipped my hyper wrist that I spent all those shards on. Maybe next time. But yeah, we're almost through with this dungeon here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just really trying to get through this here. I wish auto was a little bit faster, but it's not. These kinds of moments aren't the most exciting, you know, but the game is still quite a lot of fun, you know. I mean, it's a good time waster, obviously. I mean, I've spent a lot more time on this game than I typically do on a session because of all the BSing and talking and whatnot I've had to do for this video. So, go figure, right? I really like how serious the sound effects are, you know, that's like, who cares? But yeah. Okay. So, once we get done with this one here, I am going to do like a really super easy one, just to show you guys one other area of the game. And there's so many more that we've got here, so. Oh, before we go in the next area, you see this got this stamina meter here. And every time I go into a battle, it costs a certain number of stamina. And then every 3 minutes, approximately, you'll gain another stamina point naturally. So, it's actually pretty nice. I mean, a lot of games have the weight mechanic. But that's pretty nice. And then you can use the mithril or gems, of course, to gain your stamina up completely. Or you can also use those little crystals just under the stamina meter. There's 5 of them. If you fill those up entirely, you gain a maximum stamina point, but you also completely replenish your stamina meter. So, these special events, you don't typically get those crystals, but you do in the regular dungeons. So, alright, so now we're in the boss room. So, the very last round, we'll fight the boss. Okay, so we'll go ahead and deal with these guys. Fortunately, they're easy to kill. Alright. These guys, obviously no short work here. But if you wanted to play higher difficulties, you can. It can get really challenging. And, I want to make things easy on myself, obviously. So, on myself. What am I, Scottish now? Okay. So, obviously, the music changed. That's very nice. So, now we've got the special abilities we can use. So, let's go ahead and do that. I don't need Blinda anymore, so that's good. This boss won't be too much of a challenge, but he does pretty good damage, so Lena is going to need to keep up the healing for us. He changed forms. I think he's going to counter. Yep. He did. Ooh, he's going to kick my butt. Oh, or not. It was only a normal. If it was normal plus, I could have probably had some struggle with it. But, yeah, fortunately, I didn't have to heal. But anyways, it'll give you things on how to, obviously if I use ice attacks, I would have ranked higher. And that would have obviously helped me get champion so I can get bigger experience bonuses and whatnot. And so it shows my loot, of course, and then when you complete a full dungeon, it'll rank you and give you your completion reward. If it's the first time you complete it, it'll give you some extra bonuses, and if you master it, which means you get all 3 trophies, it'll give you some bonuses for that too. But it only does those, obviously, for the first time each. So we're going to go ahead and round this up with just one more series. I'm not going to bother switching characters or nothing like that here. I'm going to play just a regular dungeon here. So let's see. I think maybe we should go ahead and try, since I do have Lena. Well, no, I want to show something else. So let's go ahead and do a Final Fantasy VI one. I think would be a good one to do here, since that's my favorite in the series. So obviously it's got to download it. I didn't have to do that on the phone because it's the first time I played Final Fantasy VI on this computer one, so it's got to re-download it. So I've got all these different areas. I can go here. If you want to see what kind of rewards you get, you can go here. So obviously if I do this one, I can completely replenish my stamina shards. But I don't know if I'll have enough stamina to go through it or not. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously I have a lot of Final Fantasy VI gear. So let's see. 18. Okay, I'll have enough. So I can go ahead and do this. This is the classic Esper Caves. Which this is after the World of Ruin. Esper Caves, if I'm not mistaken. Because like the last couple of them I did was already World of Ruin. So okay. And the classic Final Fantasy VI battle music, another favorite. Never gets old. Ever. It never gets old. So, as you can tell, I'm a big Final Fantasy nut. Hence, Down Phoenix. It's kind of like a play on words for Phoenix Down. The classic potion that revives you in the game, so it's kind of like the retarded version of that. Because I think somebody actually called me Down Syndrome before. Probably the best insult that I've had as far as usernames go. But a very stereotypical ones, like, who cares, right? Okay, so I could better benefit if I went back and equipped my Final Fantasy VI characters, because they'd be more powerful in the Final Fantasy VI realm, but like I said, I didn't want to bore you guys with switching everything, so we'll just stick with this. So I'll show you some other abilities here. Here's aim. That's like basically a guaranteed hit. We'll go ahead and cure. Why not? Go ahead and just do regular attack. Blade bash. So you could play this just like a regular Final Fantasy game if you want, and just select the actions as you want. One of the disappointing things, though, with this game is some abilities that typically work, like if you're fighting a zombie, for instance. In a lot of classic Final Fantasy games, you can cast Cure to hurt them, and that doesn't exactly work here. It actually heals them in this, so they don't have all the mechanics down perfectly with the original games, but a lot of the elemental-based stuff obviously works very well. But we'll just do auto for now, because these characters aren't going to be any challenge at all. Yeah, I mean, he did 59 damage from a self-destruct to my weakest character. That's no big deal at all. Yeah. Okay. So now, there we go. And I'm probably going to get back to my inventory being maxed out. If that happens, I'll just spend another mithril. Yep. We'll just do that because I don't want to waste a bunch of time here. Plus, mithril is free anyways. I don't have to pay any money to get it, so... Obviously, little tips as you go through the game here. We're just going to stick with auto for now. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, because this part is not particularly challenging. Plus, we're a little pressed for time. So, the video's already went on for long enough, I would say. Let's see. By the way, let me know if you like this kind of format. As far as the video being like this with the game on one part of the screen and then my camera on the other, that's probably only going to happen for games that are at this form factor, you know, with this particular aspect ratio. Mobile games where you have to hold the phone sideways instead, you know, landscape, I will probably just do a little webcam in the corner instead, you know, type view. So. Okay. I'll go ahead and cancel auto. Well, I don't know why I'm doing that. I was going to say I was going to cancel auto the heal, but really can't do that right now. Okay. So now we're going into the last area of the dungeon. So we're going to do the Esper Caves depths. Depths. Can't talk today, you know. So here we go. Alright, we'll just do auto for now. I'll stop there, because I want to have her cure. Oh, she has a mastery gen? That'll come in handy for the boss fight. Although the effects do stay alive as long as you're in this particular battle, so... Okay. Kick some butt, Cloud. He does some serious damage, because he's got the best weapon out of all of them right now. It's definitely a good idea to keep people equipped with their strengths. Okay, so we're going to see who we're going to fight now. It does a very good job of fighting classic people. Here's Orthros. Yeah, so we're fighting him yet again. So we're going to use our limit breaks, or I forget what it calls it. It's not limit breaks here, but whatever. Now we'll use the mass regen, blood weapon. He's going to go down really easily. I've never had problems with him. In fact, that's probably him being defeated right now. No. Interesting. He's casting haste and shell. Very interesting. So Mass Regen will come probably pretty handy here. And didn't really need it. I guess he was almost dead. I was just too much for Orthros, wasn't I? Or Ultros. I'll never stop calling him Ultros, I don't think, because that's just how I've always known him. But obviously, if I use fire and lightning attacks, I would have got more bonus. But generally, you don't have to worry about that as long as the whole dungeon as a whole is mastered, which I'm pretty sure it was, so... Okay. Good times. We completed it, so I've unlocked yet another level, Airship, and you can also do Elite Dungeons, which allows you to basically replay the same dungeon. I've got the max stamina too, so I get to play some more, but I think we've done enough for now. So let me know what you guys think about this new series, if this is something that interests you and whatnot, and I highly recommend Final Fantasy Record Keeper, free game. You can download it on Android and iOS devices. And if you don't have a phone, you can still play it on your computer by downloading BlueStacks. And that lets you play the Android version, which is what I did here today. So, till then, Down Phoenix out.